Okay.
What's going on here, Frankie?
Hey, we're doing an MFA colloquium today. You saw the committee notes, and you saw how well that went. But today I'm showing the whole MFA department, like all the students, whatever faculty show up. So probably like one. But I came here early to make sure that everything was going to go okay. And the projector was like really yellow and shitty and terrible and scary. Luckily, I work here. I was able to call media services and have them swap out the projector, and now everything looks fantastic, actually. I never was assigned to do a colloquium necessarily. Like, that's open to anybody who wants to show student work, and there's only 3 a semester. But I was able to somehow guilt the program director into letting me do it, although I don't think I had to sell it as hard as I thought I did. I was like, look, please believe me when I tell you that it is not a porno. I sent this big, huge email, and she was like, look, it's fine. I don't care. So here we are. And I kind of fucked myself, because now I don't really feel like showing the movie.
Oh, look, it's Nina. Oh, hi, Nina. Show it, work it.
Looks really good.
Yeah, looks great.
Close to a fine cut.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I should address that. So you probably noticed towards the end, right? There was some there was some Plan 9 from Outer Space type stuff where they walked out of dusk and into nighttime and whatnot. So the whole movie from top to bottom needs to be color corrected. We've gotten probably about 10 minutes in now.
Yeah, it's about 10 minutes.
But I'm not going to show you 10 minutes of color corrected stuff and then go out of that, because that'd be like eating cake and then taking it away and giving you shit instead. I'd rather you just start with shit. This came down, I think my first rough cut was an hour 38, and you just watched an hour 29, so that's almost 10 minutes out.
Really good. I mean, I haven't seen any fiction narrative. I was really impressed.
I enjoyed it as much as the second time. And I think that you took out stuff at key points. I mean, I noticed where you took stuff out, but I think that it flowed a lot better.
Yeah, I think it's definitely come a long way. It's tighter, it moves a little bit better. Like the first act and the first part of the second act moved really well, and then it kind of
Dips.
Yeah, it dipped down a little bit, but then there'd be scenes where it would just be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Dave. It moves a lot better this time than it did the first time. But for me, I think it's once we hit the Pride Parade, it kind of just comes to a halt. And then once we get past the Pride Parade, everything kind of picks back up on the pace and rolls along. But because it's a good chunk.
It's interesting, because I thought that the Justin scene brought it to a halt because we just had a stretch of time where we were intercutting between 2 building plots that then met. I thought that was the part that was kind of moving, and then it was like, bam, we're meeting a new character, and I was always concerned more about that stretch.
No, and it could be that just for me that the parade breaks me down, and so I don't notice that with Justin as much.
I think one of the obvious disjoints that might cause you to kind of jump out and say, this is going on a little bit longer, is the fact that we're mixing day with obvious night in a Chinese restaurant. That's going to really affect your psychological interpretation of that scene, like jumping between time.
Looking at it with like fresh eyes, I guess, I really liked it. It worked really well. The one thing that I'm still trying to wrap my head around what exactly bothered me about the pacing of the flashbacks, I guess at the beginning half. I think maybe the first couple times that you cut back, I was kind of thrown because I wasn't expecting it at all, because you didn't intercut as much with adult you and kid you. The ones at the end I think worked better than the ones that I saw at the beginning. And
Well, the other one at the end would have been, so I just described too, the third one would have been Neil on the bus. You're so freaking gross, kid, and then it cuts back to him present day.
Mm-hmm.
So are those the 2 at the end, I like what I like, and Neil on the bus?
Yeah,
So then we're really only talking about swearing scene.
I think so.
Yeah. Sorry, I like to get into the specifics of it. Otherwise, I'm sitting at the computer just like, don't know what to do.
I agree with Chris. There's something unsettling about the flashbacks. I think there's something even unsettling about the flashbacks at the beginning. It's like they're either too short or too long. That's really going to help be helpful to you right now. There's not enough of a connection being made between the flashbacks and the present day. I'm not sure how to describe it.
Are you saying that you'd rather have it start in the present and those years later?
Because it's like, so you give the younger kids all of the names on the screen and their age, and then we don't see those same names and ages for any of the people in the present. So that might be part of it. We do?
You do.
Oh,
Well, you do.
okay, well then I didn't see
And-
them.
I feel like quite a few movies do that. They start in the past and they're like, so hey, like, what was that movie with like Kevin Bacon and they like push the kid down the
Yeah,
stairs?
it's like a scene. and it's
Sleepers
like
or
a-
whatever.
Is using not necessarily the characters, but children in general as a vehicle to talk about sexuality and kind of lay down the foundation of what this movie is going to be. Start kicking off a movie with two kids looking at each other's dicks is
Yeah.
just a hook, or B, you might want to leave the theater right now. It sounds like what you're saying is that it's not informing the characters enough, and it's too much time to not be informing you about characters.
I don't know if intercutting more with present day while you're setting up. I don't know if you tried that already.
What we definitely are doing is reshooting the mall scene. I'm kind of bored by the cinematography in that scene. I think it's kind of my choice to have it be a walk and talk. I think was kind of boring, and I don't think I used the opportunity enough to talk about the characters and to get under the skin of Frank and understand better why he's making the video. But I think we're going to create one more scene that shows a little more tension between Jess and Frank present day. That it's not all. I think maybe the relationship's a little too perfect at the moment. What I'd rather do is have her be too busy with her tests and exam and things to even look at his video, and it becomes an argument over whose stuff is more important. I think the gay guys and Neil have the tension, and we're missing it. We're a little bit flat.
In the back of my head, I was kind of thinking that in the beginning, we really don't get a context for why he's making the video. We don't learn a lot about present day Frank in the beginning of the movie.
I'd like to hear you talk a little more about the characters and how you feel about them, because actually, knowing what I knew about it going in, the characters end up being much more sympathetic, and it's as a sweeter ending than I expected.
Yeah, you thought that there'd be a kind of a harsher cynicism to it at large. Why did you think that?
Just
The way
over here, Frankie.
the way I stop around eating pizza talking about dicks.
and how hard you were trying to convince me that it was okay to show it.
I mean, they're real people. They're all real people. Nina and Keith plays Neil, are not actors at all. I mean, she's my wife, he's my best friend, and I just know them from life, and I knew that they could be themselves on camera if I just set up a situation where they would feel natural enough to just talk and improvise as themselves. So I love these characters. These are all my best friends and people that have taught me a lot in my life, and I wanted to, at this stage, at 25, put on film and preserve for myself, if no one else. I was Facebook statusing during the whole thing, and I was like, this crowd likes Keith Sadek, and he goes, what did I do?
I thought it was really funny. I don't think I've ever had a similar experience while watching. I mean, like, it challenged my expectations a lot, and I found that to be really rewarding.
What did you think going in?
What I have no idea. I mean, I've heard like, you guys heard about that, the Frankie guy's
Yeah.
sexual Frank film.
That's like our Dark Knight marketing campaign. You want to see another film this year with a
That turned everybody. That meant that everyone had the expectation. Who knew about us telling them that the whole thing was just going to be raunchy sex, close to porn as you could get. But of course, that's entirely not what we wanted at all. We just thought it was funny that that scene was even in there. But
The only nudity is my wife's.
yeah, well, you just gave it away.
The bum that the toe goes in is not the blonde actress.
Right.
It's hers.
I thought
Stunt bud.
The great con.
It's pretty meta.
Pretty what?
It's pretty meta.
Very. Do you have any questions for these guys? So we shot with 2.7Ds. Do you want to talk about lenses or anything like that?
You didn't
inside?
have the depth of field problems that I'm used to seeing with stuff shot on those cameras, which I'm interested in because I have one.
There is no time to do intricate lighting setups for everything. We use minimal lighting. I was using basically an elemental kit for the whole thing, to be honest. It wasn't.
ISOs are you using then?
We were going anywhere from 200 to even 60.
Yeah, the
30.
night scene in the car was me in the back
That
seat
would've been at least
with the camera.
3,200.
That was 3,200, I think.
The
I
only
think it
bad
was-
grain scene I think is a sleepover, but I'm in
Yeah.
the color correction. It looks a hell of a lot better.
What were your favorites?
I love the 24 to 70 Canon's 24 to 70 2.8.
I
As
love
well
my.
L.
I have this old. My dad had this 35mm camera, and I bought an adapter for it, so it was free. It was this lens, and it's a 50mm prime. That's like
Is it a 1.8?
It's 1.7. It's gorgeous. That's every time I get this opportunity to. I tell people just go to like an antique shop and buy old lenses. I bought one recently at 28mm for $10. It looks gorgeous. Like there's no reason not to have these lenses. It costs $5 for an
You could-
adapter.
eBay is really easy.
Yeah, eBay's so easy to get.
I find
old
some of the-
lenses that work great on these new cameras.
I find, to be specific, some of the best lenses I find for these cameras are the actual old Canon FD lenses. Get an FD to EF adapter, and it's really nice.
What kind of adapters do you use?
I like-
because they go everywhere.
There's a
from
couple. There's
crappy
a
to really,
few
really
different ones.
Go
For
ahead.
his, you had
Mine is
a
just
generic
a
ring adapter.
just a ring, just a steel ring. It's an M42 mount. I suggest looking for those because they're really easy to find and really cheap, and they made them for a huge range of cameras. So, and those are anywhere from like $10 to like $50.
I have an FD to EF adapter that actually has an optical lens in it, made by Adorama. They sell it and make it themselves.
How many stops does it add?
Oh yeah, and I mean,
At most 2. It really depends what kind of adapter you're using, but I think with mine it's only like a stop and a half.
yeah, mine's it's only like a stop. When you use an old lens like I used, it adds this a little bit of softness to it that gives it that kind of filmic look, which I really love, which people complain about.
Did
so.
we even say that we shot this with 7D before showing this today?
No.
No.
They probably knew.
Okay.
It's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
Although the funny thing is, we started producing the film so long ago that we were like, we're on the edge, man. We're gonna shoot this movie
Yeah,
on the 7D.
It was like
But now it's
brand
like,
new thing, man.
It's a while ago.
I mean, one of the things that was very important to us before shooting this was making sure that it doesn't scream that classic Canon digital SLR look with the crushed blacks and everything. So one of the important things was,
I didn't want to look like a Vimeo camera demo.
yeah. So
And only you guys know what I'm talking about.
So creating a custom camera profile, a color profile that you would create in the EOS utility, upload to the cameras, and really be able to tweak the curves, which is basically what you're looking at right there, the raw stuff. So at times it looks a little pastelish, very low saturated. If that gets cranked out in the color correction, you would never know. I've got a glide cam that I use a lot throughout the whole thing, just to give it, I mean, if anything, give it a little human motion, just and at least have some kind of a gliding.
That was my whole thing, is I didn't want to lock it down on tripods. It didn't feel like that kind of movie. So we were going for naturalistic, kind of extemporaneous dialogue deliveries and a kind of a really at-home feel with all the characters. I wanted you to feel like there was a, not that you were necessarily a voyeur, although we go for some voyeurism at times, more that you're just another person in the room.
I built a shoulder rig out of PVC pipe just to kind of, yeah,
Just goes on your shoulder.
you call it a bazooka. But just basically put the camera on a mount, counterweight it, and this way you have a little bit better control rather than being handheld. Because hand holding a 7D is almost like holding a
you can't really
Bolex.
do it.
To me, it could have had even a little more of that kind of handheld feel to it.
Well, we both. I mean, you can tell in some of the scenes. What we have fun doing is trying to figure out which one of us shot which shot, which we can't do anymore. But you can tell, like the cafeteria scene with the 3 of them talking in the cafeteria. That was our first shoot, and I can always tell it was our first shoot because we're both very. It's like one of those shakier scenes, and as things go on, like the China Bell shoot was one of our last, and I was the one who shot it.
Yeah.
And I was watching that, and I was like, my hands are so crazy steady. I have no idea. But that's like the arc you go through because I was learning. I've never shot anything before this, so you kind of learn how to do it as you
A lot
go.
of first timers on this movie. Yeah, it was just one audio guy, these two, and me kind of being like, everybody doing their job? While in my boxers with my dogs, trying to get it on with my wife.
It's not difficult.
No, well, it is for me. It's again a no-budget film. Like we really kind of, other than cars and stuff, we really didn't spend much until I started putting my thesis proposal together and actually adding up. Like, let's say that everything we brought to set had a price on it. It ended up being 17 grand. So this movie cost 17 grand.
If you started from scratch.
If you started from
All
scratch.
that equipment was purchased for this production.
So social capital.
Does that include how much everyone would get paid in a
No.
No paying.
It's literally like if we bought all this stuff just to make this film.
We're talking
life?
about
But it'd be interesting to add in how much everyone would get
Yeah, or
paid.
software or.
Yeah.
We were talking about some places where it lags a little bit. Like if there are these cuts where punchlines are happening and there's like too much of a lag between the cuts. Like it just needs to like pop more. You know what I'm saying?
Every time I do this, I get a little bit further, so it's really helpful to keep hearing it. I don't know if there'll ever be a cut of this that people won't say that in.
Yeah.
I don't know that will ever happen, but I'm going to keep trying. The best changes that I'm making, or the ones that feel the best when screening, are the ones that kind of kept the integrity of the original joke, but did it in a lot less time.
One of the things that was great sitting in the very back was hearing, okay, what areas of the audience are people laughing at a specific joke? It's always like, oh, that little group, those 2 or 3 people hit that joke, they got it. Those 2 or 3 people got that joke, and it's going to be different and kind of organic.
But you all got Luigi's Mansion for the very
Yes.
first time.
That's That's never happened
That is
before.
creepy.
Nobody's left.
It's tough because I've got a mix going and a color correction going, and I'm making editing changes, but I'm to the bitter end.
Have you thought about bringing another editor in?
Well, certainly somebody to sit and talk with me, but in terms of the actual like re-edit this whole scene, I don't think there's really many other options besides the ones that are there, honestly, other than just period of time between the cuts, because literally the coverage is that strict.
I was just wondering if you could speak, you mentioned to Jan briefly that you thought it was it became sort of a feminist film at the end of it. I just wanted you to talk about that a little.
The feminist theme throughout, obviously, is kind of what Jess is dealing with. But I think that it's actually a little bit more multidimensional than just I don't want to marry, I don't want to have kids. Because I think that she maintains her femininity throughout. Just the way easier thing to do with a character like Jess would be to make her bushier, or would be to give her short hair, or give her a big stud or something. But to show that she's anti-conventional right off the bat, and I don't think that's as interesting.
I don't think she was sort of an anti-conventional character.
Well, neither do I, really.
Oh, well, yeah.
But
you sort of said that. I know. Like, even the views, I think that was presented as normal. I was wondering why you brought June into the gym scene to be sort of the counterpoint to the older woman. Like,
I felt that those, as I was writing it, I felt like I was writing two very similar characters. One that was on Nina's ass and one that was on Keith's ass. Both of which represented points of view that the film doesn't agree with. And it just felt like a really fun way to just corner Jess with two female characters. And I also kind of, because it's an ensemble piece and there's different little groups per story, it felt like a really fun way to kind of interconnect them just a little bit. And this one's a little bit trickier, and I've been called on it, but I have a response. Sarah was okay with being on the internet as long as it was under comedic circumstances, or and that was why she did this, and she maintained that motive throughout until all of a sudden that turned into something sexual. And you're already on the internet in any capacity, you're already being masturbated to, whether you like it or not. And yeah, and that strikes people as kind of offensive, but I think that it's just stark reality. And here's the reason I think that it's a kind of feministic viewpoint is we're saying you shouldn't have to bear the burden of, you shouldn't have to feel the guilt of being a slut. You know, if you're worried that you're being perceived as a slut, it's not your fault. You had nothing to do with that. That's just humankind.
I don't think that came through.
Yeah,
it sort of seemed like you're on the internet, so suck it up, I guess. You know, or
well, but if you think down that line, if you go
true.
down that line of thinking just a little bit further.
Yeah, it's true, but it maybe wasn't. I mean, that's fine.
It's just I thought I'm always trying to maintain a balance between saying these things without shouting them. Yeah. Rebecca Black, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Like, Rebecca Black wanted to be Justin Bieber, and now she's like, you know, Tommy Wiseau. But more than anything, I think Nina's performance, she's just hiding in the back. Nina's performance has nailed the female edge of this whole thing, and took us to a new level with the female character.
I do think what you were saying does come across, that you only have control over how you, of yourself and how you present yourself, and you have no control over how other people interpret you. I mean, it's just the way it is. You have no control over what other people do. You set Jessica as a character that doesn't want to get married, and in the end she ultimately does get married. You set it up in a realistic way where it wasn't any health problems, because you set it up as in a real life situation.
Somebody recently was like, does Jess have a health issue? And I was like, no, we just needed a apathetic reason for marrying. She was like, okay, well, I was really concerned about Jess. Her motivation remains the same from the moment we meet her at the beginning to the end for that. So there is actually no change other than convenience. I hate movies. Well, I kind of dug Four Christmases, but but it does that thing where they kick it off with like, we don't want to get married, and then her biology kicks in. And that fucking pisses me off, and it should piss off all women everywhere, especially my wife. I felt like the only way we could prove from beginning to end that these characters do not put any stock in marriage from beginning to end, and that won't change, was to have them get married under the most ludicrous of circumstances.
There's still a little happily ever after sense to the movie, and I think that's what I was responding to.
They take themselves, the relationship, and the commitment, and their love for each other seriously, just not this outfit, please.
So I got no critiquing or anything. I just want to say I liked it even more the second time through, which is saying a lot.
thought the score stuff that you added was great.
You were used to Cat Stevens in it.
I was used to Cat Stevens. I was like, how are we going to do better than Cat Stevens at the end?
Even though a lot of people were like, this Cat Stevens crap.
This is a good way to cut it.